It is now 7:16, 16 minutes after 7 o'clock. Good morning to everybody. Ted Tibbett here, Judge Zachary Vaughn, and we're honored to be special guest with us, our Congressman Michael Guest. Good morning, Congressman. How are you?
Good morning, gentlemen. A beautiful day in Mississippi.
Are you in Mississippi or are you in Washington right now?
I'm in Mississippi this week, so I think we've I know we've talked about this, Ted, you and I off air. Is our schedule generally is we're in D.C. for 3 weeks out of the month, and then the fourth week we're in Mississippi or back in your district. So every member gets to go back home to their district, and so this is a district work week for me. I've got things planned throughout the day, so I tell everybody, look, when I'm back in Mississippi, I don't want folks to think that I'm on vacation, that it's some sort of spring break, that I just go home and sit around the house all day. It gives me the opportunity to get out, to travel, to meet with people across the 24 counties that I serve so that I can be a more effective legislature when I'm in Washington.
Well, you are a very effective legislature, and you're doing a great job up there. Judge Zach Vaughn is with us here as well.
Good morning.
Good local attorney.
Good morning, Judge.
Good morning. Good to see, or good to hear from you, sir.
Let me ask you something.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say it's always an honor when you get a chance to speak with a judge at any level. So, Judge, thank you for your service.
Well, no, I appreciate. I was telling Ted, I remember Congressman Guest when he was a DA up in Brandon. When I was first got my law license, I was practicing in the Brandon area and saw you in court a few times and whatnot, and we're just working deals out. So.
Yeah. Well, and I tell everybody all the time, that was probably that position was a position that being DA, that I enjoyed as much as anything, having the ability to work with your local law enforcement, to go in the courtroom and, advocate on behalf of victims, to be able to see, that justice was served when those cases were concluded, but also to be able to help those young first offenders who ran afoul of the law, but that individuals that had a promising future ahead. And so being able to direct those people into something like drug court or non-adjudication or pretrial diversion. And I still, Judge, get people that come up to me in the community. I'll be out pumping gas or maybe the grocery store getting groceries, and they'll come up to me and they'll say something along the lines of, hey, you don't know me, but when I was young, I got in trouble with the law, and you gave me a second chance, and because of that, I now have a good job, I'm married, I have a family, I'm involved in my community, and it just makes you feel good to know that some of those people that you gave those second opportunities to, that they took advantage of them, and now they're just good, law-abiding, productive citizens. And so as much as I love the job that I have and the impact that I and the other members of the delegation get to make in D.C., I still miss some of those days in the district attorney's office. So thank you for what you do. Thank you for serving in your role. For a judicial system to work, it takes the prosecutor, the judges, law enforcement all working together. So thank you for what you do.
No, thank you. And I was an assistant DA for a number of years, and I agree with you. It's a very, very rewarding job, and any attorney that's listening out there, certainly give that consideration. Prosecuting, there's nothing quite like it. Nothing quite like it.
That's exactly right. And if you want to get in the courtroom and you want trial experience, there's no better place to get that than a district attorney's office.
I agree, sir.
Congressman, let me start right here. You're the new subcommittee chairman of Border Security and Enforcement on the Committee on Homeland Security. Big President Trump supporter. Where are we at in this stage? Well, we're about 8 weeks into the new administration. How much of a change have you seen, and what's on the line now?
Look, it is night and day, Ted, from where we are today versus where we are under the Biden administration. In just over 2 months, President Trump has worked miracles along the southern border. We've seen the number of individuals encountered by the number on the border by Border Patrol has dropped more than 90%. Last month alone on the southwest border, there were only a little over 8,300 people who were apprehended. We were seeing that on any given day under the Biden administration. And so under Biden, you were seeing more than you were seeing in some cases 10,000 a day. In the month of February, we only had 8,300 encounters for the entire month. And you say, well, how was the president able to do that? And I'll tell you, the president was able to do that because he started enforcing the law. He reinstated the Remain in Mexico policy, which says if you're trying to come to the United States to seek asylum and you're coming through any third country, so any country other than Mexico, you have to remain in Mexico until those asylum claims are heard. He ended the catch and release program. And so what he was doing, or what the Biden administration was doing, is they would apprehend these people. They would then process them and turn them loose in the interior. President Trump said, we're not going to do that. If we apprehend you and that you don't fall in these very strict guidelines, we're going to return you to your country of origin. President Trump declared a national emergency on the border, which allowed him to then use the military to reinforce what our law enforcement officers were doing. And so it has been amazing how quickly we've seen President Trump be able to really transform the border. And I thought the president made a great statement in his joint address to Congress. He said, and he reminded the American public that, Joe Biden said that we needed new laws to enforce the border. He said what we really needed was a new president, referring to himself. And that's been exactly what we've seen. And we're going to begin holding hearings actually next week to talk about the differences between the current state of the border now versus Joe Biden. Was originally scheduled to go down to the border this week because of some logistical issues involving our trip. That's going to have to be rescheduled. But I do look forward to getting back down to the border very quickly so that I can see firsthand many of the changes that have been put in place by this administration.
Is he is any part of this rebuilding the wall? I know when Trump was in office the first time, he started building the wall, and then Biden took it down. Is there anything going on with the wall?
Yeah, Judge. So you're exactly right. We have once again restarted wall construction, and so when President Trump was in office, we were able to construct. I don't remember exactly the exact number of miles, but a large number of wall construction, or a large amount of wall construction, took place under President Trump. Joe Biden came in day one by executive order. He stopped that construction, actually sold some of the materials that were needed to construct the wall at pennies on the dollar to prevent the Trump administration from coming in and restarting that. But the president has restarted that, and we're going to see President Trump be very aggressive in border wall construction. And we're going to see that as we start looking at the FY26 budget, I think you're going to see money in the budget for wall construction and also money in the budget reconciliation process. So as we're working through, you're going to really see two types of money that the administration is going to be able to draw off of. First, the regular appropriated dollars by Congress, and then the money that we're going to be able to appropriate through the budget reconciliation process. So you will see wall construction, while it is occurring now, you're really going to see it ramp up between now and the end of the year.
Good deal.
Congressman Michael Guest, our special guest this morning. Congressman, a question I want to ask you this. We thought the Democratic Party under Joe Biden, the Chuck Schumer Democratic Party, was just unbelievable, but it looks like it's being pushed aside for an even crazier group of the party. Do you see this divide even growing stronger as you watch the new administration or the new Democrats in Washington?
Yeah, I do, and I think that was clearly on display last week during the fight over whether or not the Senate Democrats were going to support the continuing resolution. And you saw that there was a large portion of their party which were opposed to funding the government, which, normally you hear people being opposed to continuing resolutions. You generally think Republicans, but in this case, there were Democrats who so hate Donald Trump that they were willing to shut down the government because they felt like that they were somehow being treated unfairly. And we saw that divide grow when there were press conferences with people calling out Chuck Schumer in the Senate. And I consider Chuck Schumer to be a very liberal member of the United States Senate. There is in no shape, form, or fashion where I would ever classify Schumer as a conservative, but he is being criticized by his own party for the fact that he is not liberal enough, that he's not willing to stand up and shut down the government to fight Donald Trump. And so you're starting to see what were originally happening behind closed doors. We knew that there were these fights within the Democratic Party behind closed doors as to the direction of the party. Now those fights are spilling out in public, and you're seeing Chuck Schumer being criticized. You're seeing members of the squad, people such as Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and others, being openly critical of their leadership. And so I think it just goes to show that they are a party right now which is in disarray. They're a party which lacks a message, that lacks leadership, and they're a party that really at this point is not in a good place to push back against the policies of the Trump administration. So as a Republican, it is a good time to be a Republican in our nation's capital. We have the president who is doing an amazing job. We control both branches of Congress. And we see that the Democrats are a party in disarray. So with all those factors working in our favor, I tell you, Ted, it makes me extremely excited to get to wake up and go to work every day.
We have about 2 minutes left, Congressman. What would you say to the listeners out here to calm down somewhat that are worried about tariffs or the stock market or whatever in the first couple of months of the Trump administration for what he's doing, his policies?
Yeah, I mean, the stock market's going to continue to ebb and flow. And so I think for most of us, we look at the stock market as a long-term investment tool. We're not trying to get in the stock market and make money one day. There's probably not a lot of day traders out there, which is, I think, how people view the market. It's a long-term investment. It will continue to grow. I remind people that Trump is a businessman. Trump wants the economy to do good. He wants the economy to flourish. He wants to improve everyone's economic standard, and you're going to see that. As it relates to tariffs, short-term tariffs that remain in place for a week or a couple of months really aren't going to have a huge impact on the wallet or the spending of most Americans, where you have to be concerned if you see long-term tariffs. And I think the president understands that. He's going to use short-term tariffs against Canada, against Mexico, to try to get them to help him secure the border. I think he's been extremely successful. I think if you look at the border numbers, you look at what Mexico has done as far as turning over cartel members to the United States for prosecution, the fact that they have sent 10,000 troops to the border. We know that Canada is investing over $1 billion. They've appointed a fentanyl czar. So these threats of tariffs or tariffs that are in place for short periods of time have worked, and the administration is using those tools effectively. So I tell people, look, trust the process. Don't react to how the media is portraying these short-term tariffs, and know that the president has the best interest of this country and of our citizens at heart, and he wants all of us to be successful, and we're going to see over time, I think you're going to see the market do some incredible things.
Congressman Guest, thanks for joining us this morning. Enjoy the brief time off. I know it's not that time off work because you're with the people you love, the people of your district. And thank you for your services. I tell my military friends all the time, we look forward to talking to you again.
Thank you, Ted. Thank you, Judge. Appreciate y'all for having me on, and y'all have a great day.